So this session is dedicated to community. And the way I was seeing this is that we're talking about fellowship and we're talking about togetherness. We're talking about ways that we build community in our relationships. We're going to talk about ways that our relationship shows up in the community around us and impacts the community around us. And also how to think about our relationship as a little micro-community in and of itself. So there's our relationship, there's how each of us feels in the relationship, and then there's a sense of, we're a little community in and of itself, and that's related to the consciousness we create. It's related to what we spoke about in the first class of that field between us, and what's the quality of that field, what does that field need, what do we need to grow within that field, but also looking at our relationship also as a community, a little micro-community. As I'm sure we've all experienced, building community doesn't happen instantaneously. And it's both an inner and an outer process. We have to awaken certain sensitivities and sensibilities to create community. We have to start valuing that and becoming aware of an environment populated by people, by real people with real differences and real needs and real happenings in their lives. Community is people. It's not just a field of consciousness or energy or qualities. It's people. So how do we create a community that coheres? What are the different communities that we're involved in? And there are external actions we do, ways we extend ourselves. And then there's the inner sensitivities that we have to develop. We really do need to develop self-knowledge and openness, receptivity, in order to inspire community around us. Otherwise, obviously we're looking at constructive communities. There are communities in prisons that aren't very constructive communities. We're not obviously talking about things like that. We're talking about wholesome community that we're building. And some of the questions, as I was unpacking this for myself and thinking about it, I started to look at it that one is, do we see our relationship as part of the community we live in? Do we just see ourselves in our lives, in our house together as just existing, with each other? Or do we see ourselves as part of a community? And that community could be a congregation, a religious congregation, a spiritual community. It could be our neighborhood. It could be related to the school system that our children go to. It could be part of a professional community. Doctors and lawyers often have a community around them. It could be part of an artistic community. Do we even see our relationship as part of that community? And do we just think of our community of friends or our community of spiritual brothers and sisters as the only community that qualifies? Because my goal in this is to expand our thinking, to realize that we, like it or not, we're part of a lot of different constellations of relationships in a lot of different communities. And how are we interacting with them? How much are we valuing that co-relationship in these different communities? How much are we caring about that? How sensitive are we? Usually what happens is there's one or two communities that we know we're a part of and we value. Maybe that's our spiritual community and our family, or our spiritual community and our work. And so we know we're in a relationship and we move in and out of those two communities, either as an individual or as a couple. My husband and I move in and out of that community. They have a relationship with each of us individually, or they have a relationship with both of us. But look at all the other communities that we're part of. Look how semi-conscious or unconscious we are about them. And by unconscious, it also can be unappreciative, because the more we look, different constellations of relationships support us, and we support them in different ways. They each have value. They're different. And often we disregard those communities if we see them as not being deep enough or not being primary enough. And in that, it does create a sense of isolation, or it gives a sense of the relationship as being this microcosm unto itself, pretty much unconnected with a lot around us. That's not necessarily just a reflection of the depth of our relationship in these other communities. It has to do with our inner relationship to those other people and to the constellation and network that we're a part of. We're not going to give every community equal weight. They don't have equal weight. They don't have equal import. They don't have equal depth. But because we show up in those communities and because we're part of that constellation, we want to be conscious of that. And we also want to awaken inner sensitivities. So we start becoming much more giving to the communities around us and enriched by them.